I've spent the last decade of my life trying to become a dentist, and I've been qualified for 4 years now. And I can tell you there have been many ups and downs. Don't worry guys, I still enjoy what I do, but let's get real for a minute. There is a reason that dentistry as a profession has one of the highest suicide rates. So hey guys, if you're new here, my name is Komal and I'm a dentist based in the UK. In this video, I'm going to be talking about 4 reasons I hate dentistry and how I deal with them. Let's get started with the obvious. People hate dentists. Patients will literally walk into my room and before I've even said hello, the first thing they will say is, I hate the dentist. A lot of people are absolutely terrified about the idea of a dentist, either from their past experiences and traumas, or they've heard a bad story from someone else, or they've got their information from the media, which doesn't portray dentists in the best light. It's tough to know that the person sitting in your chair is dreading every moment of it, or they're straight up effing and blinding when you tell them the cost of a procedure to save their tooth after they've neglected their own oral health for 10 plus years. Or as a child, they had all their teeth filled, which apparently they didn't need, and 15 years later, they have 12 failing restorations, and they're annoyed that I've recommended that they replace them. Sometimes it's just draining. How do I deal with this? Number 1 is I put myself in the patient's shoes. I try to be as empathetic as I can. Honestly, I get it. Even I wouldn't want to go and see the dentist. It's not fun, it's not comfortable, but it is necessary. A lot of people actually don't know that much about their teeth and they haven't really been educated on how to maintain their oral health. For example, if you've had bleeding gums for all of your life, you're going to assume that that's normal. Or if you have a family history of tooth decay due to a sugary diet, you're not necessarily going to blame the diet because that's all you know. I have learned that education is key. Showing a patient what is normal and healthy really opens their eyes. It brings people away from the defensive mode they're in. Understanding this helps me remain compassionate and empathetic and do the best for my patients. Number 2 is be gentle and reassuring. I make it a point to understand why patients have the history that they have, or why they have the ideas that they have, or why the teeth are the way that they are. Usually just taking the time to ask and listen builds trust and rapport. People appreciate it when you care enough to understand, and it really does motivate them to do better. And the third thing is, don't let the bad ones get you down. Every now and then, you do just get a patient that is not nice. Either rude, or they're not willing to listen, or sometimes they think they even know better. I've learned to accept that I can't win everyone over, and in those cases, I just take it on the chin. If I feel like someone is particularly rude or making me feel uncomfortable, then I will make it a thing to look after my mental health and end our relationship there. So yeah, a lot of patients hate the dentist, but at the end of the day, it's our job to help them. And I think when you put yourself in their shoes, it just makes everything a lot easier. The next thing I hate is the physical toll dentistry takes on you. You can spend hours hunched over a patient, in a small mouth, in awkward positions, bending your neck this way and that way, and it really does mess up your body. We hear about neck and back pain, but also hands. They're constantly under strain. Eyes, they're constantly focusing on either something really small in the mouth or a computer screen where you're writing your notes. And let's not forget ears. There are so many high-pitched sounds in the dental surgery, and sometimes when I get home, I literally feel like my ears are still ringing. And sometimes the physical strain really adds up. And I'm sure if you're a dentist, you've heard a horror story about someone who knows someone who has slipped a disc or had to retire early because they've injured something. I do definitely suffer with a bit of these pains, so I try to do everything I can to make it not take a physical toll on me. I've learned to try and be super conscious of my posture, to do things like adjust my chair in the right position, adjust the patient in the right position, get tools that are easier to use, and use loops to avoid putting unnecessary strain on my eyes and my neck. I also wear barefoot shoes to work, which really help me with keeping my posture the best that it can be, and I will talk about that more in other videos. Number 2 is regular stretching and exercise. I try to make stretching and exercise a part of my daily routine. Staying physically active outside of work hours is completely underrated. It just does amazing things for your body. The worst thing you can do after work is just be a couch potato. And number 3 is know your limits. There are times where your body has just had enough. Like you've been working on a procedure for over an hour and it's just time to stop. It's best for you and it's best for the patient. It's important to remember to take breaks after every patient. Even if you're running late, just take a few seconds, get your body right before you get the next person in. I also know my limits by just picking up that I'm getting pain or signs of chronic pain, and I will go and see a chiropractor, see a physio, or just get a massage so that the problem doesn't become bigger than it is. So it's all about balance. Take care of yourself while taking care of others. Reason number 3 is stress. Now let's talk about the stress because there is a lot of it. Like I've said, dentistry is super demanding, but on top of that, there's a lot of paperwork. You're basically meeting deadlines every 10, 30, 60 minutes when you're trying to keep on top of your schedule and trying to finish treatments that you said you would finish within an hour. The pressure to meet these targets can get a little stressful, so it doesn't help that there is a lot of litigation around dentistry and there is a lot of isolation as well compared to other healthcare professions. So what do I do to stay on top of this stress? Number 1 is I stay organized. This means I plan my day carefully. I give myself extra time to finish things. Or if I think a procedure is going to take 45 minutes, I will just book in an hour for it because I'd rather have an extra 15 minutes of a break and rushing around like a headless chicken and, putting myself and patient at risk. Being organized helps me stay calm and focused. Number 2 is setting myself boundaries. I've learned to set boundaries to protect my mental health. This means not overbooking myself, learning to say no when necessary, and understanding my limitations. I don't have to be able to do every single treatment. Sometimes things are better in the hands of specialists. I also make lots of time for breaks and admin tasks. Plus, it's really important to recharge, and therefore I don't practice dentistry full time, and I will talk about that more in another video. Number 3 is seeking support. As I've mentioned loads of times, dentistry can be very isolating, so I make it a point to connect with other professionals, whether it's joining groups on Facebook where I can ask for advice, whether it's just making time at lunch to talk to my colleagues, or whether it's attending conferences. Having a support system makes a huge difference. Stress is inevitable in every job, but with the right strategies, it doesn't have to be overwhelming. And reason number 4 is the NHS system. For those of us working in the NHS, I think you'll agree that the challenges just seem even more daunting. The system is really underfunded and overstretched, which means sometimes you end up working with limited resources and under a constant pressure to deliver results. There are targets and quotas that are set by the NHS that sometimes feel really hard to meet. I feel like it's quite hard to provide the level of care I want to provide in a system that's broken. How do I navigate these challenges? Number 1 is focus on what I can control. Obviously, I can't change how the NHS operates, and many have tried, but what I can do is give my best to the patients that I see, even with the constraints that I'm working in. It's not always easy, but sometimes you do have to recognize there is a place for the NHS, and it is sometimes really useful for patients, and just work with it. Number 2 is educating patients. Where possible, I do try to educate my patients on how the NHS works and how the funding works. In the UK, there is a big culture of just getting treatment on the NHS because that's the only thing we know. But a lot of patients don't actually know that they have other options. For example, insurance or having treatment independent of the NHS. That may suit them better. So I do give my patients all of the options and I let them decide what pathway suits them best. And number 3 is protecting my mental health. Working in a broken system can be very draining. So I do prioritize my mental health. Firstly, I have a very easy to achieve and realistic NHS target, which means I won't be forced to cut corners or rush treatments just so I can meet these targets. I also split my time between NHS and private dentistry. That allows me to kind of practice dentistry the way that I want to practice it and not under strict rules. And like I've mentioned before, I only practice dentistry part-time and I am planning to leave the NHS so that I can work on providing the best care and also have a good balance between my work and my life. Working in the NHS can be really tough, but I do recognise that there is a place for it. If you want to know more about the NHS system and why I think it's broken, then watch this video on the screen. So those are the 4 things I really hate about dentistry and how I handle them. Don't worry guys, I still do love dentistry, so there is going to be another video on why I love it. I hope this video has shown you guys that you're not alone. We're all going through it. Leave your comments below, tell me what you think about dentistry, and I will see you in the next video.